I am glad that we're going to be having this discussion because this is a much needed discussion at a very the time is absolutely right to have this kind of a discussion. Um, so his and hers show. Um, wow, it's been a minute, right?
More than a minute.
Since we've been able to have a discussion. Yours truly, Diamond K, in here. What are you going by now?
The Jamaican paper doll, of course.
Okay. Be clear. And so, as far as the reactions, I wanted to have reactions to these national protests, and you have some very interesting views about it. As far you're in Texas right now, what's the climate in Texas?
I mean, they're protesting. It's not like no Freddie Gray protest, but they're protesting. Like, I try not to watch the news and things of that nature, but they're protesting. But it's not as bad as other cities.
Okay. And so you are what city are you in?
I'm in Houston.
Okay. All right, yeah. So, of course, I mean, at least a dozen cities are having varying types of protests. When did you see the George Floyd video?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Diamond. I started watching it and then I stopped. I couldn't take it any longer.
Okay.
Like, it really hurt my heart. I just stopped watching. I couldn't finish it. I couldn't sit there and watch a man get murdered. Like, I couldn't. And he died slow.
Yeah. It was a very it literally brought tears to my eyes when I first saw it. So a very, very brutal. And now more camera angles have come out, and so we're seeing that at least two of the other officers aided in the whole thing. So right now, where it is right now, the officer who had his knee on his neck has been arrested and charged with third degree and manslaughter. And that happened only because these riots were going on. So some people are like, well, why are they still rioting? Why are they still protesting, rather? Because one officer has been arrested. Like, what do you think about that?
They all need to be arrested.
Agreed.
They all need to be arrested. You know, when it comes to law enforcement, you are a team. Someone in your team fucked up, and you allow him to fuck up. So as a whole team, you all need to get in trouble for it, because they could have simply said, ease up or stop. Someone could have took charge of that situation. And being in law enforcement, me being a CO, security, anything, everybody knows we are trained to never put our knee in someone's back when they're laying down.
Right.
Because you're stopping them from breathing. They're on their back. They're on their diaphragm.
Right.
They can't breathe. So once he was restrained, he was supposed to be turned to his side. And they knew that. They knew that. What could he have done with his hands already restrained? Nothing.
Right. That's true. There's nothing that he could have done. Meaning that the whole, in being in fear for their safety or their life argument is out the window.
Out the window. And I don't know. I've never heard anyone go so hard to arrest somebody for what, fraud checks? Forgery?
No, they said it was a fake 20.
A fake 20.
Mm-hmm.
So this man lost his life over a fake 20.
Right. That's the way that it appears. and the amount of force that was used, the lethal force, and we've seen even further camera angles to show that was not necessary. So then, I'm not going to say this wasn't surprising that protests started in Minneapolis and have now gone throughout the country to multiple cities. What are your thoughts on the protest, on the looting, the police, the National Guard, the whole thing?
Let them loot. As an activist said on Instagram, she gave a very powerful speech. Looting. It was taught. The Europeans looted the Indians when they came to take their land. So, therefore, these Americans, Black African Americans, they're taking their land. They're looting. They're causing fires. They're doing what they have to do. Yes, they're stealing. Yeah, that's wrong. But they're burning businesses down. As I said, Target has insurance. It'll be rebuilt by next year. George Floyd's wife will never get her husband back. So if this is a way for them to take a stand, to get our voices heard, then let that bitch burn. Let it burn. So what? And I'm tired of seeing the posts, oh, they're burning their own neighborhoods down. No, they're not. They don't live by Target or in Target. Their neighborhood is where they wake up in the morning, brush their teeth, and leave out for the day. They're not burning their neighborhoods down. They're burning Targets and other businesses down. That is not justified as their neighborhood. And if it's near where they live at, shit, they will drive to the next available Target to get what they need to get. Let that bitch burn.
Okay. And so after they burn down the Target, then what? What's the point of action after that?
What do you mean? What's the point of action after that? Their voices are being heard. Okay, that's the only way.
So Target's in ashes, and multiple stores in ashes.
Multiple stores.
Then what?
Then they're what? They're going to be rebuilt, and everybody's going to move on with their life. And probably in the next couple of years, someone else is going to happen again. Like I said, Martin Luther King had a dream, but his dream has never come true. It will never come true. Blacks are constantly in fear of America.
So how do we change that?
We can't change it, Diamond. This is something that's never going to be changed. We are the underdogs. It's a fight that we've been trying to fight. You know, we had a Black president, and we still getting shot and killed by police officers.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about that is more complicated than burning down buildings. I think that's something that grabs somebody's attention. You know, like if your child is doing something wrong and you grab them and you shake them, right?
Right.
That didn't fix the problem. That got their attention. And
exactly.
I think that this protesting is the equivalent for shaking the child. Now we have to put some other things into play to make things change. Otherwise, we're just going to constantly just shake them, but no other action is taken. And I have a problem with that. We have to do more than just shake them.
Exactly. And it's like when you do your peaceful protest, they laugh at that shit. It's like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? But
so you think that protests need to be? You think that people's cars need to be burned and they need to break in buildings and take the ATMs and this is part of the solution?
I'm not saying it's part of the solution, but it's making a statement.
What statement is it making?
What you mean? What statement is it making? That we tired of this shit and something needs to be done. Do you think that if we just go out there with signs that Donald Trump would have anything to say?
Yeah, I mean,
and I have another question.
Go ahead.
Since 2015, the Freddie Gray riots,
right.
Has there been any black males killed by officers in Baltimore since?
You said since the riots, have there been not to my immediate knowledge, but I'm sure. Well, you mean unarmed?
Yes.
Not to my knowledge.
Exactly.
What do you mean? So you're putting you're connecting those two things?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that.
It's more precaution now.
Well, let me say, here's the thing. A lot of people, and I said this on another show earlier, a lot of people say that the system is broken or the system needs to be torn down. I don't think that the system is broken.
So what's wrong with the system then?
I think that the system is fine. The problem is that if they did everything that's on the paper, then it wouldn't be any problem. The problem is the application of justice is what's wrong. If they apply what the law says to everybody, then it would be no problem. But the thing is that they pick and choose. Okay, police officers don't be held to the same standard that other people are, and this person doesn't get held to that standard, and this white person doesn't get held to the standards that the black person. If they applied the law to everybody equally, it would be no problems. The system itself is fine, but we don't apply the system the way that the system is written. If me, two of my homeboys held down somebody and I put my knee on them and it was on videotape, I would be arrested. They'd investigate it after I'm in jail, but I would be arrested. It would be no question. We need to check out the evidence. We can't rush to justice. We gotta, it wouldn't be none of that. And that's the problem. When a police officer does a clear murder, he has to be held accountable the same way if the clerk at the gas station did it. And if they applied the rules of the system to everyone, it would be no problem. Not like this, because it would be fair.
When is it ever going to be fair, Diamond?
Well, I mean, that's what has to change. And I'm just trying to figure out if people understand after the shaking, after the looting, after the protesting, after all of that, now we have to hold people accountable for that application of justice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a perpetual circle, and ever so often, I mean, it just keeps.
Did they learn? Obviously, they don't care, and obviously, nobody's learning because they didn't learn from Eric Garner. He couldn't breathe.
No, what my point is that if the only repercussion is when the police does something ever so often, some of the citizens rise up, burn some things down, turn over some trash cans, set a few fires, and then things go back to normal, and they look at that like, oh well, okay. You know what I mean? It has to be more than that, and it has to be. People talk about, and I've said this earlier, and I want to say this again. I had a problem with Diddy and Charlemagne saying that we need to hold the black vote hostage, right? It's not the black vote that has to be held hostage. It's the black dollar that has to be held hostage. What is respected in this country is money. And if we organized more, and you see this, the police and the mainstream media and all of these people are scared of the organization, masses of people gathering. If the masses of people, if we put our money in the right places, then we will change things. They're scared of they're scared of that groups of people doing one thing. That's where the power is. That's what we have to do. Organize where we spend money, and then that's how you tear things down. Tearing down Target is not really hurting Target. Not shopping at Target, that hurts Target. If your issue is with Target, I'm just saying, but the issue is not with Target.
It's not going to happen.
Well, shit, then we might as well end the show. What do you mean it's not going to happen? What's not going to happen?
I mean, what
organization's not going to happen?
No, but what you're saying about, the right way and everybody should be treated fair and
I'm saying until that happens, you're going to always have flare-ups like this. Now, if it doesn't happen, I'm saying okay, but until it happens, this is going to constantly be a thing ever so often in major cities and small cities around the country.
It's not going to happen, Diamond. It sounds great.
But that's the only solution. Everything else is a Band-Aid. Everything else is just a Band-Aid, a small Band-Aid at that.
I don't think that we're ever going to be treated fair.
So what do you think? You think that this is just going to be a perpetual thing that just goes on and on and on?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
All right. Well, I think that it will happen unless we find another way, and just acting out of anger.
But who's going to implement this?
Oh, I mean, it's a complex issue. It's a complex issue. But
the president?
No. President is just a steering wheel. President is the steering wheel on the car, right? But the car is run by the engine and so many other parts. But if you have a great engine, but you got a flat tire, car is not going to move. Okay, so the local government and so many other elected people are really what runs this. It's just like you have a Target. If you have the manager of the store only keeps the engine going, right? But you got the cashiers and so many other things. The manager by himself can't run the store. And so we have to focus as far as the country. The president is one part, but there's so many other things that aid the president doing his or her job that we have to concentrate on. People thought, black president, everything's going to be perfect. No, because there's so many other things that have to be in sync for things to work and change. We can have a female president, a black female president, a white female president, an Asian president, a millennial president. It doesn't matter if the rest of the machine is not working in conjunction and in fairness.
I just think that, every career, there's just going to be prejudice. It's and it's not even saying that all cops are bad. It's just certain cops are prejudiced.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that would have happened if that was a white man. I just don't.
You don't think what would have happened?
I don't think if George Floyd was white, that would never have happened. Point blank, period. And I don't care.
You mean by a white cop or a black cop would not have done that to him?
No. And if it was done by a black cop, are you crazy?
Yeah,
he would have got locked up then and there.
Would the other officers would have stopped
by the other officers?
Yeah. It's crazy like that. Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. So the prejudice of that officer is why that happened. Is that what you're saying?
That's how I feel. Yes.
But it's deeper than that, because here's the other part. Here's the other piece. It's just like your child. If your child thinks that they can get away with doing something, then they're going to do it. If they know that they're not going to be able to get away with it, then they won't. And historically, we have seen the standard be so high against convicting officers for police brutality and worse that a lot of the officers are saying, yeah, I'll do it, because what's going to happen? What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to send me home they're going to give me desk duty for a couple of months. You know what I mean? That, generally speaking, that's what so they're saying, okay, whatever they're going to do, I can deal with it. You took it too far, clearly, and his arrogance led to where we are. And the other officers' fear of speaking up.
And that's just the type of people or how you were raised. Like, it's just terrible. Like, you are in fear of what?
You're talking about the other
taking control of a situation that got out of hand. So your fear led to a man's death because you were scared to say something.
Yeah, he definitely was scared to say something.
If my coworkers are doing something that I know that's not against policy, I'm gonna say what the fuck it is, and I don't care if they like it or not.
Right.
No policy.
Right.
So if you know policy and know what goes on by the books, then you shouldn't be scared to speak up on anything because you know policy.
Yeah, but that takes courage, and every job.
So you don't need to be a police officer.
Yeah, every job you have cowards, and those guys were cowards.
You're supposed to have a charge of a police officer. You don't need to be a police officer if you don't have courage.
Right. Agreed. So across the country, more than 1,300 people have been arrested in 16 cities since Thursday. 500 people on Friday in Los Angeles. At least 25 cities across 16 states have curfews. National Guard has been activated in a dozen states, including D.C. So Target, we've been talking about Target a lot. Target has temporarily closed 175 stores. Yep. So Minnesota, 71 stores closed. California, 49 stores closed. 12 in New York, and various others closed in various states. So the climate is very tense, and in a lot of places, people are upset. And then when you see something like this happen, it like reignites or re-injures a wound that people already had. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it made me think about the incident, that I had with my husband being choked out, and me flashing back to Eric Garner thinking that this man is cutting my husband's breath off and he's not going to be able to breathe and he may die. And I had to take action of busting him upside the head with a bottle.
Right.
Like, that's all I could see in my head when I blacked out is that my husband dying of this man squeezing his neck to death and he can't breathe. So, and to watch a man die slowly on camera and the people that's taping it, like, no one, everybody was in fear.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm using the word fear, but they may have felt the same degree of racism and hatred that he felt. But
think about if one person would have stepped up.
You gotta say one police officer, because the multiple people that were on the street were telling and begging him to stop, and he didn't stop. So you mean one of the officers had said something? Because people were saying something.
They should have bump rushed him, those people.
I wish they had. I really do. I really do, because if the crowd had rushed them at any moment in time and got him off of his neck, that could have saved him. Yeah. That would have led to them getting arrested, possibly. But
who cares?
They were outnumbered. It was only 4 of them, and it was a large crowd there. I'm sure that sits with them. Those folks, but
it's like, oh, they're police officers.
Yeah.
But they're not doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have you've been seeing some memes online and
I'm over the memes. Yeah,
that has been a lot.
I've had to block and delete certain Caucasian friends.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Why?
Because I don't appreciate their posts. Like, where's the justice though, and all that simple shit, like, oh, they're burning their own neighborhoods down. Who is they? I'm taking they very personal. Who is that? You mean black people? You mean niggas? Like, who is that?
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, yeah, it's social media. Yeah, you can post what you want to post. But as a white person that is friends or have African American friendships, you shouldn't even be posting nothing like that.
Right.
Because you know that African American friend is going through something right now, and you should understand. If you really care about your African American friend, then you wouldn't post no shit like that, but would post something real. Like, I'm sorry this is happening. I will never be in your shoes to know how it feels to be a black man in America. Something. Oh, they looting though. What they doing? Like, stuff like this breaks friendships up between white and black. Because it's just like, oh, all this time, this how you really
feel? Yeah. So you've seen that reaction from people, and it's caused you to unfriend them or block them.
Yeah. Because I feel like if either you're gonna have black friends because you truly love that friendship, or you're just doing it to say that, oh, I have a black friend, or I hang with black people, or I'm into the black culture. You know, those are the people that post dumb shit like that. And then the memes where, oh, why y'all mad? Black people kill black people every day. White people kill white people every day. But the news and the media likes to focus on the urban community to tell you what the black people are doing. But white people kill white people every day. Matter of fact, white people kill family members every day for insurance money. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, all that stuff happens. All that stuff happens. So are you going to refriend these people, or are you just done with them?
I'm done with you. I'm done with you.
Just like that. And as far as the punishment, what should be the punishment
for this officer?
For all four of them.
For all four of them, they all need time. But the one that had his fucking knee in his neck, capital murder, bitch. Capital murder.
Yeah. Do you think that that's what's going to happen?
No, absolutely not.
Which is going to cause more problems.
Yes. After the trial, it's going to be burning and looting again.
If the outcome is not right.
If the outcome is not right. You took a life, so you should do life.
Just like anybody else. And that's my only issue. If the justice system, if the justice is applied to everybody, then we won't have any problems. We won't have any problems. Times are different now, different than they were. People, black people, white people are definitely different now than they were in, say, like our grandparents' generation. Yeah. This is a different crew. What do you think about the Black Lives Matter movement?
What you mean?
I mean, do you think that that's the issue? That's the answer, getting people to view Black lives just the same way they view other lives?
They'll never view Black lives as the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy that we have to make a fucking hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Because we will never matter.
To some
even
people,
with the hashtag.
to some people, right? This is not to everybody because I have seen people of all nationalities out there protesting.
Yeah,
That seem like genuine protesters. I ain't talking to people that's just and to the people that's going someplace to try to grab a TV or clothes off the rack.
Let me know where you at.
That's the issue. And here's the thing. I think that some people are confused at that. When they see people capitalizing off a situation versus the people that are out peacefully protesting and showing their solidarity, that's where the message gets confused.
Well, they need to send a fucking text out, you know, a looting text.
I'm sure that they did.
For the people that's looting and stealing, we going out on Monday. For the people that's going to have the signs and stuff, we go out on Tuesday.
Well, I was thinking that the people that were trying to steal stuff were going out late at night, but it's out of control. I saw some people dragging an ATM out of a nail salon.
That happens in Baltimore almost every day.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the death of any black.
No, it doesn't have anything
person.
to do. You know, some people just
break into the ATM. Yes, and I wanted you to say that. You know what I mean? I didn't want. I wanted to make sure it was clear that you weren't saying that breaking into the. I mean, they broke into the ATM.
No. I'm for the burning of the police cars. I'm for the burning of.
You're for that?
Yeah, but I'm not for people going in and stealing flat screens and stuff like that. And I understand. Here's the problem. I understand if people burn down the local liquor stores or whatever, but they wouldn't make money if the people did not go in there and buy the liquor. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it plays a role. You know what I mean? And I was talking to my coworker today, and some of those little corner stores, you know, that are owned by a certain culture, you know, maybe if you know, on Thursdays you gave the kids free chips or something, maybe they wouldn't burn down your shit.
Meaning that if they had a better relationship with the community.
Yes, if you had a better relationship with the community will respect you and won't touch Miss Kim's shit. That's Miss Kim's shit. We're not going to touch it. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they're in our communities, but they don't give back to the community. All they give back is
all they do is take. Yeah, all they do is take from the community, I guess. Yeah. No, I feel you on that. I feel you on that. Definitely. You know, so from their perspective, they may say, I sell a good, you pay me money for it, and that's our fair exchange, no robbery.
And that's why your shit is getting burnt down. Because there's no respect.
Yeah, it's definitely not a respectful thing. A lot of this also stems from the fact that we've been under a pandemic quarantine since March. A lot of people have lost their jobs, and all of this stuff is compounded. In addition to that, you know, I mean, you have so many people that have.
That's why they use the ATM because they were.
Yeah. And it's just a all around bad situation.
And then this president, like, okay, you're gonna say you're getting the National Guard, and what are you saying? Like, they're gonna start shooting people?
I don't think that's. I think that is definitely what he wanted to say. The problem with that is they're not going to do that. That would be the worst
disaster.
thing.
That would be a disaster.
Yeah.
And again, you're using public servants to kill. I don't get it.
You voted for
I did not.
him. Good.
I did not.
Just checking. Just checking.
And then they keep on saying holding the black vote. Yo, really? Our votes really don't matter. It was like thousands of votes in Florida Ocean, and the man George Bush, I mean, he still won. So like everything is rigged. Like I don't trust the system.
You do not trust.
I don't trust the voting system at all. Clearly, Donald Trump cheated and he got away with it. Why? Because he has that money.
People also have to understand, I think that cases in coronavirus are going to spike after all these
Are you serious right now?
protests and stuff.
I see people with masks on.
Yeah, not all of them. Not all of them.
You stupid.
Yeah, I'm mad about that. I want this thing to go away.
It's not.
Yeah, tired of this.
You tired. I have to wear a mask for 8 hours every day.
Yeah, but you got a real mask. You ain't got one of them bullshit masks. You got a real mask.
But I hate it. It's breaking my face out. Like I don't want to keep smelling. I mean, I like my breath, but I don't want to sit there and smell my breath 8 hours straight out the day. My mouth is getting dry. Like it's ridiculous. The prisons are on medical lockdown. It's horrible.
Yeah, so so that's interesting. So you're wearing different masks though, right? Y'all not wearing those little thin paper masks.
We have N95 masks that we have to wear for 6 days straight, and we don't get a new one until we come back to work after our 3 days off. We only get one mask for the whole 6 days.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, feel bad for y'all. Okay.
And they give us gloves that don't even fucking fit. We just get what we can get and put on. We got like 2 fucking pumps of hand sanitizer that we get at the front door when we leave and come. It's not like we have hand sanitizer all over the unit. It's ridiculous. I'm tired of
it. It's considerably different than how it used to be.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be like this for a while. Me and Herbie went out to eat yesterday, and the place looked fucking retarded.
So in Texas, you can eat inside?
Yes, not everywhere, but majority of the places are now opening up. So we ate at Chili's the day before yesterday, which was weird because the bartender is constantly wiping shit down.
Well, the bartenders was always wiping stuff down.
Well, they really wiping shit down now with bleach like every 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And then we ate out yesterday, and it's like they only had a capacity of like probably like 20 people could sit in. You can sit outside, but once they reach that capacity, you have to order to go.
Very, very interesting. Yeah. So I know that you want that to be over with, but yeah. People have not been following. Some people have, some people haven't. In Maryland, it is takeout only currently, and they just switched on Friday to outdoor dining in Maryland.
But do you guys have to wear a mask outside?
You don't have to. Indoors you do. Outside you don't have to. And in Georgia, it's just back open. It's just back.
Yeah, we don't have to wear masks in places.
Even in shopping, you don't have to wear masks shopping?
No.
Okay.
I hate when I see people in masks driving in their car.
Yeah, that's just very weird.
It's irky.
It's it bothers you?
Yes. And it bothers me, people, when you wear gloves in the store and you using your dirty ass gloves, pushing the cart, and then you touch all the fucking fruit.
Oh yeah. That's a problem out here.
That's the problem. You nasty.
but see, the thing is that a lot of people are confused and they don't understand what to do.
Wash your hands.
Yeah, they don't understand what to do, so they just confused.
Just wash your damn hands. That's it. It's no confusion. Don't touch your face. Don't touch your eyes. Don't touch it in your mouth. Wash your hands. Oh, it's so easy.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you can't even go and get hand sanitizer. That means, hey, for all people's lives, y'all dirty motherfuckers ain't been using hand sanitizer.
Well, keep in mind, they didn't have hand sanitizer when we were growing up. This is like a new thing.
Oh, because when we was growing up, it was just like if you fall on the floor, just blow it and then put it in your mouth and eat it.
Yeah, well, you had to raise it to the sky. Kiss it and raise it to the sky. Yeah, well, things are different. I definitely have seen the use of hand sanitizer increasing. I don't know if you had a chance to see the video of the woman in Baltimore, downtown Baltimore, who was knocked out by the police officer. Did you have a chance to see that?
No.
So on Friday, there was a woman. She clearly had she claimed to be mentally ill, and I think that is the case. She's barefoot, and one officer is grabbing her. She strikes the officer in his face, and says, "Get your hands off me," like something like that. And so there are three officers around her. She's hits the one officer who tried to restrain her. And then another officer tries to grab her to stop her, and she breaks free and then hits the officer again. Once she does that, the officer who was behind her knocks her out. And so he has now been suspended. This happened Friday. So there were protests going on. This was a little bit before the protest had reached this particular area. So she wasn't a protester. So there is some outrage of that. It's people have been conflicted with it because what's happened is that some people are making it a racial thing. The officer who was hit was white, the lady was black. The officer who knocked her out was black. And so some people are saying that you got the black cop defending the white cop and knocking out the black woman.
So when he knocked her out from the back of her head?
Yeah, so he tapped her jaw, and so she went down, all the way down, and then the white officer started to arrest her.
I have a question. Why he didn't just tase her?
Yes, that's he could have. He could have just grabbed her, bear her, put his arms around, grab her, wrestled her to the ground. There's so many different things that could have happened. I am glad that he didn't shoot her, though. So that would have been terrible. Yeah, that would have been terrible.
So she has a mental illness. So here's the thing, I think they should go in more detailed training of dealing with people with mental health issues, right, on how to handle people with mental health issues. Because when you come upon somebody that is either going through a high mania or whatever, having mental issues, you have to handle them a different type of way. Because their understanding is not the same.
Agreed.
You don't even know if this person is hearing voices or hallucinating, or what these voices that they're hearing are telling them to do. Like that voice could have told, he's going to kill you, slap him. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And if all three officers are coming upon her, she's feel like she's in danger, she's in fear.
Yeah, and to me, it was clear and obvious that she had some, she had some mental things
He had no shoes on.
going on.
That's
Right.
the key point.
Right. 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 So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you take a look at this for the people that haven't seen this. Can you see this?
Yeah.
You see this?
Yeah. Is that her behind the car?
Yeah, that's her.
Exactly. I hate fucking social media. Time has surely changed. People rather videotape than to actually just help.
All right. So yeah. So that's the video.
You come in, first of all, mental health. Don't approach them so fast.
You're talking about the lady?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
when you're dealing with somebody with mental health issues, don't approach them that fast. Put your hands up and come to them slowly and talk to them. You're not supposed to elevate the situation. You're supposed to de-escalate the situation.
And de-escalation is the key here. But it was a fast moment. You having a background in de-escalation, what being the black officer, what should he have done? What some things that he could have done?
Not hit her. Not hit her. Not from the back like that.
Mm-hmm.
He should have talked to her. First of all, somebody had to call.
Right.
Somebody called them to come get this lady. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So they had to let them know that it's a lady, she's delirious, she ain't got no shoes on or something. They just didn't, somebody called for them to come get this lady.
And I'm gonna tell you what I took away from the clip, and I thought that the clip was very disturbing. It's a couple of things. Now, all of the hitting that she didn't hurt the officer.
She ain't hurt not one damn person.
She didn't hurt the officer. It's just like if your children, if your small kid hits you 2 times and then your husband knocks out the kid, you know what I mean? It's just like you weren't hurt. And the first officer, this shows you the fear of some of these police officers, because in this direct one-on-one situation, the officer took two shots from the lady and he didn't do anything. The only officer who reacted was an officer who was behind her, because he had the safety of her not seeing him coming. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, this is the type of mentality that a lot of the officers have. People like that don't need to be officers because they're so scared. If the black officer was face to face with her, I don't think he would have done that.
Nope.
I don't think he would have done that. I think he only felt
down.
Exactly. He only felt comfortable because he was behind her.
And none of them looked like they were in fear for their lives.
No, well, they definitely weren't. Now, had that been a guy, do you think that would have had? I think that it would have been worse. He would have been very hurt, if not dead.
Yeah.
Now, if you saw later on in the video, when the black guy was approaching, then the officer pulled out his gun. When that same officer that stole the lady hit her from behind, that same officer, when he was face to face with a black man, he then pulled out his gun. Which just goes to show you that the fear of some of these people, these people should not be officers of the peace.
And not even that, Dominic. He punched this lady in the back of her neck. Okay?
Yeah.
If he would have punched her back here by her medulla oblongata, he could have killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Over what?
Yeah.
Someone called because this lady was in distress.
Yeah, and she did not have on any shoes. So
What's the excuse? She was a big woman.
well, the excuse is going to be she assaulted the officer. That's what the excuse is going to be. That's what's going to be at the top of her paperwork. In Baltimore City, police arrested 14 people last night, and so it is the mayor and the police commissioner are praising their officers for professionalism and restraint. And the majority of the officers, they said, majority of the protesters rather, were peaceful, but there was a destruction of property at eight different places in Baltimore City, 12 burglaries, and people have been arrested, charged with burglary, aggravated assault, failing to follow orders of a law enforcement officer.
Can I ask a question? Who is your police commissioner now?
Police commissioner in Baltimore is Michael Harrison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You got a problem with that?
No, you know how Baltimore goes through police.
Oh yeah. Well, this one ain't gonna change till the mayor changes. So if we change mayors, he's gonna probably lose his job. But
ain't no dirt on him. He must be.
Well, he ain't from around here. He's from Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one that they rolled down Fells Point?
No, but he was someone in his administration, but it wasn't him.
Oh, okay.
All right. Another sad thing that happened. Police are also investigating in Baltimore the assault and burglary of a WBFF TV crew. They were forced away from City Hall where the protests were taking place, and their equipment was stolen. So that is something that they are investigating.
How did they steal it? Did they leave it unattended?
Well, National Guard have already been deployed in Baltimore. Police said that.
Why are they in Baltimore and not Minnesota?
Oh no, they're up there too. Yep, they're up there too.
The National Guard stay in Baltimore.
Well, you talking about in the barracks, with the 5th Regiment, the armory, whatever. No, they come here every now and then. But as far as I was talking about the coronavirus, Baltimore City has 5,644 cases. This is the 4th highest in any jurisdiction in the state. So people need to chill. I was telling you about the flare-up spikes. We need no more spikes. We need shut to go down, not go up. Not go up. So if everybody is taking so much precaution,
it's still going up.
It's still going up. Can I bring somebody on the line?
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring somebody on the line here we are talking about reactions to the protests. We're talking about the video in Baltimore of the officer knocking out a lady. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Very good, very good.
My views on that. Well, the clip that I saw you show was the second part.
Right.
Of the video.
Right.
It's a part to that. Have you seen the first part of the video?
So there's a part. I have not seen another part. So this is a part prior to what else did the officer do to her?
Well, it wasn't what else the officer did to her. Is what she was doing in the middle of the street prior to getting to that part of it. She was harassing other protesters and being disruptive.
Okay. So Ms. Ellison, that's why the police was called, because she was disturbing. She was causing a disturbance.
Well, she was blocking protesters. The protest was supposed to be peaceful, from what I could see. One of the ladies was Muslim, and she had on her Muslim garb, and her face was covered, but you could only see her eyes.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously she had issues with her religion.
Wow.
So she started saying some not so nice things, which before I saw the first video, just looking at it, I had a different point of view, but seeing that first video, being a nurse, that should have never escalated to that point, because someone should have been able to intervene before it got to part 2. They should have been able to intervene before it got to part 2, because they should have been able to look at her and say, something's not right here.
Right. I agree with that. And so that goes back to the de-escalation, you know what I mean? And the such. Now, as far as the protests, what national protests as far as George Floyd, what are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts about that. First of all, I'm going to tell you where my problem starts with that. A lot of people are speaking in present day about doing things now, or what should have been started maybe a year or so or whatever ago. When I look at this police's track history, the reason why I say this should have never happened, if we have an officer with 19 complaints, the reason I feel George Floyd should be alive today is because when you have 1, 2, or 3 complaints about something, okay, then maybe some people just don't like you. But when you start having 4, 5, 6, and 7, I'm getting ready to look at you sideways. So who is that police commissioner? Who is that internal affairs investigator that allowed this person to have 19 complaints? And a lot of them were against the minority community with excessive force. I have an issue with that. Why are we at 19? Because see, by the time we got to 19, it was a murder on the other end of that. That should not be. It did not have to go that far. And for people to say, well, that situation escalated and that, no, he woke up like that. He brought that attitude to work with him. You can look in his face and see how intentional that was, because even if he did not want to render first aid himself, it was enough people around him that if he didn't want to touch him, fine. They were begging, can we help? He would not even allow him to get help. That is intentional. That is a problem. You are to protect and serve. You're not judge, jury, and executor. That is a problem. And they are taught that should an emergency situation happen while they are detaining someone, some of them are trained in first aid. He could have done something. He definitely could have done something. But for him to deny him medical attention, you do not do that to animals. And for the medical examiner that thinks that it is okay for him to give that shabby report that he gave and want to say, oh, well, he had comorbid conditions. Okay, let's break the pathophysiology down on this. You don't want to say he cut his airway off and he was asphyxiated. Fine. No problem at all. He may have had heart disease, but pressing on his carotid artery will do what? Send him into sudden cardiac arrest, depending on how damaged his heart is. So guess what? He killed him.
Very, very, very true. Very well said. And I really appreciate your medical background and use of words that I do not know. So then, as a result of this and many other killings of unarmed Black men and women at the hands of the police, we're at the point where we have a national protest going on. What are your thoughts on that?
It's okay to be angry. It's okay to want and require more, but we have to have a plan. We cannot be lackadaisical with this. This can't be something that is happening right now, and then in 30 days, there's nowhere to be found to fight the good fight. No, we have to bite down this time while we have the attention of the people that we need, and we have to forge forward, and we have to do it in a way where our voices are heard and the need is met. We cannot afford at this point, not another day, not another minute. We cannot afford for another person to not be accountable for what is happening in our community. But on the other side of that, we ourselves have to hold ourselves just as accountable as well as when we are holding others accountable. Because it makes no sense for me to cry wolf when it's someone that does not look like me. But I will allow certain behaviors by someone that does look like me. No.
Good point.
All the way around. We're going to do this all the way around. Because it is outrageous to me as a mother with sons, one that serves this country daily, the anxiety that I have when my sons leave the house. Every parent is going to have some type of anxiety. But for a male child to leave the house and your prayer is always, well, God, please just let him make it back home. We shouldn't be living like prisoners in a free world and we're not in cells.
Right.
Not acceptable.
Absolutely.
Not acceptable. I'm not saying don't be angry. I'm not saying don't protest. But what I am saying is have a plan. And the one plan that you can have, you have to speak the language of those that you're trying to get the attention of. See, the one reason why the bus boycott was so impactful
from the civil rights era in the 60s. Yep.
Yes. The reason why is, what did they do? They spoke their language. Okay, you don't want to treat us fairly? We are going to speak your language, which is money. They impacted their economics.
Correct.
Because that's what they spoke, money. Okay, I can't sit on the front of your bus. You can't have my money. And if that means me walking 20 miles to and from work, I would rather walk 20 miles than sit in the back of your bus. And when you start impacting anything economically, those in the positions of the powers that be, they can hear you.
Yes, that was true in the 60s, and it is true now.
Absolutely.
And I mentioned that earlier, if we figure out what we want to target as far as economics and harnessing our collective buying power, then that will definitely bring the big part of the system to their knees.
Absolutely. And we have to start as well as with our local interests, especially local elections and things of that nature. And the reason I say that is because even though I'm from Baltimore, but I no longer live there, it can no longer, this election that's coming up locally can no longer be a part of the good old boys club. We just can't pass the city around and say, well, I know this person or I know that person. Vote for this person. If they have not earned your vote, if you have not seen them in the community doing what it takes to get the job done, if it's only for a camera prop, or if they are attached to an entity or a person that is known in the city, but they are not, and they're not known for doing what they are running for, they can't stand alone.
I agree with that. I said this on another show earlier today, that I understand that perspective of, if you're not, when it's not election time, we don't see you in the community, and people tend to say that to politicians, but I think that it's deeper than that, because that's one thing to say, but additionally, when it's not election time, citizens have to still be paying attention and questioning the actions of the politicians as well.
Absolutely.
So if you can't say on one hand, okay, you only come around when it's election time. Well, you only pay attention to the politicians when it's election time. What about when it's not election time? If you held them accountable in the middle, then we could really get some things done. You got to hold their feet to the fire once they get elected, and not expect them to say, hey, here's my foot, want to put it on the fire. You got to go, and we got to hold them accountable at the same time during the whole term.
Well, but even better than that, before we even go with elected officials, we have to, like I said before, we have to be accountable, because we want all of these things to run. Let's start with holding ourselves accountable. Let's start with PTA meetings. You want to show up and say, well, you failed my child. Okay, but what type of relationships did you bridge with that teacher? We want to talk about what the school system is not doing. Okay, well, how do you know? And how do you know for sure?
That's true.
Because have you been to the school? What do you know about your child's teacher? What do you know about the principal? Who do you know? And if you're in the school system, and if your child is in school and you're making enough noise, somebody is going to listen. It can't be the schools on this side of town, or this school is a college prep school, and they get this learning plan, and the schools on that side of town get that learning plan. Obviously, if you have teachers teaching a certain curriculum, then you have some qualified teachers somewhere. So then that means we can put them in every school. If
Absolutely.
You demand what is necessary as well as what you deserve, don't allow this to keep happening. Do not allow this to keep happening.
And I think that's a great way to end it. You said some very very powerful things. I really appreciate you taking some time to give us your thoughts, and I agree with pretty much everything you said. T, what about you? Unmute yourself, T.
Miss Allison.
Yes, ma'am.
For the Baltimore, the people who are running for mayor this term, out of all of the people that's running, who do you think should be the next mayor of Baltimore? Who do you think would represent what you were stating that Baltimore needs?
Seeing as though how I do not live there.
Exactly.
And I have not, honestly, I have not vetted every candidate appropriately. It wouldn't be, I don't think it would be fair for me to say, because I wouldn't be able to speak on something that I don't know everything about, because there's certain candidates on the ballot that I know nothing about. And for me to give an opinion and don't know anything about the other candidates.
Okay. Fair enough.
That wouldn't be fair. But what I can tell you is this. I wrote a poem called How Long? And part of the poem says, Dr. King asked this question in 1965. 55 years later, we are still struggling to survive. How long? That's the beginning of the poem. The end of the poem says, we don't have the luxury of not answering this question. I am tired of singing this same song. But I'm going to ask you one more time. How long? How long are we going to go through this? Enough is enough.
Well said. Well said. Again, thank you for chopping it up with us. And yeah, you said some very powerful things.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so there's a couple of things I want to read that people are saying in comments, and so somebody said that the National Guard should be policing the police. Okay, so you
Hilarious.
That's funny. All right.
Do they see? This is why I say education. Do they understand the purpose of the National Guard? And who are they really supposed to protect?
So y'all feel as though that's something that cannot happen?
As a vet, I would have a problem with that. I would definitely have a problem with that.
Okay, so let's talk about the National Guard. What is the purpose of bringing in the National Guard?
Okay, the purpose of the National Guard is to protect the state should anything happen. But why are we policing the police?
Why is there a need to do that?
That's what you have local government for. If you put the right people in local government and hold people accountable, you won't need state level protection. Try holding people accountable for what they do. Try getting a job description and going by that job description and saying, this is your job. You do this, this, and this. It is that simple. We complicate it when we do the good old boy system. Because I can promise you, as a nurse, it is no way in the world I can have 19 infractions on my license and still have one. No, sir.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I just I don't have a problem with that thought process of it. We look at it when unrest happens. When the level gets to the point where the police can't control it, then they bring in the National Guard, right? Which is part of the reserve component of the Army, right? So,
Okay.
or the Air Force, or whatever. So when they do that, that means that things have reached the next level up. It's like escalating something, right? And so, but they don't have the power, I think, to arrest per se. I think that they kind of like stand as a barrier, and it kind of, they kind of act as a mediator almost.
Okay, send them National Guard or Park Heights. What difference is that barrier going to make?
Yeah, I guess when you look at it like that, but they're thinking. I think they try the presence of bring the Army. We bring reserve members of the Army through here. Okay. We bring some tanks through, and they're gonna respect this tank. But, it's just like,
I don't think so. If you go to Park Heights right now, somebody can probably sell you an Army tank, okay?
Exactly.
All right, so another question on some things we've been talking about, or a statement. They also said, how could, and I think he's talking about the officer, how could he be in fear? She did not have a weapon. That officer that hit her was doing like police do, stand up for their brother, wrong or right. And of course, she's talking about the video of the officer in Baltimore knocking the lady down.
I think it was uncalled for, like
him hitting her like that.
Yeah, from the back like that. Yeah.
In any given situation, we can say what we wouldn't do until we get into a situation. It's easy for me to look at it and say, you know what, from a medical standpoint, you could tell something was wrong. But in the heat of the moment, we don't know what else happened. or what else was said, or what else was done. And we know protocol, but at that point in that given time, it's hard to say, because that's hard to watch for anybody. That's just like your sister. So that we're supposed to keep our composure as professionals.
Absolutely.
But I can't say that in that moment, whatever else what was going on in the environment, that something couldn't trigger that particular reaction. And I'm not saying right or wrong.
Yeah. Some of these comments are very interesting. Somebody said,
but Diamond, before you say
"Stupid
that,
ass." They say it's a stupid ass. She started it. Go ahead, T.
it's just a shame how the public has gone numb. Like the person that was recording it, like they found like this was funny. Like seeing another person in distress and getting hit, seeing that lady get hit, that was funny to them.
It was surprising, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I listened to the video a few times, and I was able to gather the conversation that the guys were having that recorded that second video that we showed earlier. And the guy who was recording it after she fell, he said, "I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to get out this car." And his friend said, "For what?" He said, "Stay out of that. You don't have nothing to do with that." And that was after them react. I mean, they reacted to the punches and stuff. But I thought that was an interesting conversation that they had in the car. So I don't know if they were desensitized to it as much as what were they going to do about it. You know, if they approached the situation, we could have potentially had some other dead black men. You know what I'm saying? So somebody else said that the officer could have bear hugged her and apprehended her from behind. That coward house Negro sucker punched a woman from behind. I'm not excusing the woman's bad behavior, and she should have been arrested, but the black should be fired. And I guess he's talking about the black officer.
Well, if if it is proven that she has mental health issues,
Mm-hmm.
and if she is in a manic state, depending on how long she's been up or whatever else she's going through or has gone through, working with that population, I don't know where they get the extra strength from, but they come up with strength from somewhere like you would not believe. And even if he would have tried to bear hug her, it could have been a possibility that him approaching her from behind could have really escalated it and made things worse.
Yeah, it's definitely that's definitely possible there. And if you look at it, he tried to grab her hand at first, and she broke away. So yeah, it's definitely possible. It's sad that we have to look at these interactions. And it's easy to Monday morning quarterback and say you should have did this, you should have did that, and you said it in the heat of the moment is the heat of the moment. But we up against the clock, so we got to get out of here. T, thank you so much. And Miss Allison has been a treasure.
My name is Sabrina.
I'm sorry, Sabrina. Okay, be clear. I don't want no trouble, no de-escalation necessary for me. Okay. But thank you so much. You have really provided a lot of great perspective here.
Diamond, I'm the same person that you did a video with for Kiari Malformation.
Oh yes, okay, I remember now. Yes, I do remember.
I'm that same person.
Yes, I do remember that. That was last year. Okay. All right. So thank you again. And
of course.
And all of that good stuff. T, thank you for dealing with crazy person like myself.
I can't wait to get my hate messages on YouTube.
You will probably get some. What when are we gonna do this again?
Here we go.
I like to get you on record.
I'm available anytime.
Okay. All right. So we do that. So as far as that goes, Sunday, same time?
Same time.
Okay, that's perfect. All right. So
different places.
Right. Well, that's true. Same time, different places. And we'll see you guys next week. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And definitely feel free to disagree. All right, radio. Of course, you visit the episodes, radioonfire.com, and click the His and Her Show link.